Beautiful.
All right, so good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Walker, and I'm going to play us in with a couple of tunes. The first one is a samba from Brazilian composer Caetano Veloso, and this is called Desde que eu samba e samba. All right. So that was, Caetano Veloso tune called Desde que eu samba e samba. And next up, I would like to do this is kind of a Broadway standard that I have reinterpreted. because I don't know why, but lately I've getting excited about tango. And so this tune is called Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. And I want to put this out to all of you who were out there for the Dawn chorus in your Birdathon teams. So I maybe in the chat you can share with us your Dawn chorus birds that you saw. Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. All right. And now, without further ado, our main event. So Barry and Matthew, take it away.
Great. As always, Bill, that was awesome. I really, really loved that tango. That was fantastic. So anyway, I want to welcome everyone here and thank Bill for providing opening and closing music. So if you missed the show, the first part of it, you could watch until the end and he'll play us out. But I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and for supporting the 2022 SCVAS Birdathon. The Birdathon's been in existence for more than 30 years. We've been running Birdathons every single year since the Wetlands Discovery Program was initiated. And in fact, our first Birdathon really was started with the intent of helping to fund our education program and the Wetlands Discovery program. So it's done that every year since, helping our education program, and you've all been a great part of it. Doug and Gail Cheeseman were, in fact, among the earliest and first supporters of the Birdathon, and I'm sure Barry will talk a little bit more about the history of the Birdathon and what we've raised this year. But I do know that this was one of the best years we've ever had, despite the economy and despite everybody's anxiety. We've had another very good year, and we have you all to thank for that. So anyway, as you probably know, we're all very eager to return to in-person events, and we will do that soon. It just still doesn't seem prudent to do that at the moment, but we will soon. And I really appreciate your patience at checking in and attending our online events while we're waiting for the in-person ones to resume. But anyway, welcome. And we want to, since the Birdathon is always about education, we're going to start with a little pop quiz. So I'm going to pull that up. Going to pull that up right now. Let me see. And I'm going to close this down. So can you see the opening slide? Barry?
Right, nice and blurry. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can see it.
Well,
Clear.
this is actually not the quiz. This is my horrible picture, but completely identifiable, of the recently reported eastern kingbird. So I guess I photographed that on Monday, and several of you were able to find that bird as well. Hopefully, better pictures will result. But there's something to think about when we're looking at quiz pictures, and that's always to consider the time of year. Of course, now we're in summertime. Breeding has taken place, and we see a bunch of young birds around. So that's the theme for today's quiz slides. And we're going to have 5 of them all together, but I'm just going to give you one right now. So our first mystery, we're not going to, you don't have to answer right now or put it in chat or anything. Just think to yourself, if you recognize this bird, study it for a moment and realize again what time of year we're in. And just in case you didn't notice some of the features which might help you identify it, I'm going to show off a couple of features here right now. We see a pretty plain face with really no facial pattern. We see what look like spots on the wings or wing bars, perhaps. And there's a mark on the tail, which you might not have noticed before because it's right down there in the shadows close to the branch. I also notice this bird has fairly large feet. So if you think you know what it is, fantastic. It's actually—
Matthew, was this a recent photo or this time of year photo?
These are all this time of year, yes.
Okay.
The photographs are not necessarily taken in our county, but they're all nearby, and they're all this time of year. So that might help some of you. But I'm going to show you the answer right now. And but when we're all done, I'd love to know if anybody gets all 5 questions. Anyway, so this bird is a spotted towhee, a juvenile, hence the streak on the breast and the kind of scruffy appearance and the lack of the jet black we see on the male or the very dark charcoal on the female. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to hand it back to Barry to talk about the Birdathon and how we did this year.
Okay. So some people were guessing in chat, by the way, Matthew, and I kind of like that. They like seeing the guesses as they come through.
Yeah.
But we don't have prizes or anything for guessing it right. You just get the joy of knowing you got it right.
You get a virtual gold star.
A virtual gold star. Yes. So hi, I'm Barry Langdon-Lassane. I'm the president of the board of directors, and I'm also the head of the Birdathon committee at the moment. So I've been leading the Birdathon committee for the past 3 years, and I've been head of the board for the past 2 years. As many of you know, Ginger and I are going to be moving soon. We have finally found our dream home and land down in San Luis Obispo. We're super excited, but we're also taking our time doing the transition from Bay Area living to Central Coast living. So we still have our old house and we're really taking loads down. At some point, we'll get a big van and have people move all the big furniture and stuff. But I am still around for the next year, just kind of lowering my involvement a little bit in various different ways. So in the coming year, we will have a new board president, and we're going to need somebody new to run the Birdathon committee. So just keep that in mind. Some board business. I want to give my profound thanks to Bob Hurt and Joan Layton, Bob has been treasurer of the board for many years, and Joan has been secretary of the board for I don't know how many years, but both of them have been heavily involved in the board for a long time, and they are both stepping down from their board positions, as well as me stepping down from the president position. So thank you, Bob. Thank you, Joan. You guys are awesome. We have 3 new board members who just joined this past year at different points of the year. First, we have Vivek Tiwari, who I think is here tonight. Vivek, are you here? Maybe not. Anyway, Vivek is a wildlife photographer, and he's also an executive at one of those large Silicon Valley corporations. And he's been a member of SCVAS for, I think, 25 or more years. So he's been around a long time. So he just joined the board. Gary Campanella has also joined the board. Gary has been, most recently, was the CFO of a nonprofit healthcare organization called OnLoc, and he is retired or semi-retired, and he has joined the board, and he's also joined the finance committee. And the third new board member is Michael Hawk. Michael Hawk just retired from Google, and he's diving in full-time, headfirst into the world of conservation. So he is reinventing himself as a conservationist, and he already has a really excellent nature podcast. If you haven't already heard it, it's called Nature's Archive, and he interviews a lot of the names of people you already know, like Matthew Dotter and Alvaro Jaramillo, and many the well-known people in the birding world and in the natural conservation world, locally and not locally. So those 3 are our new board members, and elections are this month for the board. So we're gonna be sending out a ballot for you guys to all fill out. And our slate of officers is as the following. Bill Walker, who you just heard his wonderful music. Bill has agreed to be president for the coming year. Sue Pelmulder will be vice president. Yay. Hi, Bill. Thank you. Sue Pelmulder will be vice president. She's been on the board for 2 years now. Gary Campanella will be the treasurer, as well as being on the finance committee. And Michael Hawk will be secretary, replacing Joan. So I think we have a really nice, solid slate of officers for the coming board year. And if you go just to the homepage at scvas.org, the first news item is a link to the bios of all of the new board members and all of the officers, so you can read all about them before you vote. So next, I wanted to talk about the awesome power of volunteers. Volunteers are what make this organization what it is. We could not do the work we do without volunteers. The board, the entire board is volunteers. All of the committees are volunteers. Virtually all of the educators in our wetlands discovery program are volunteers. The field trips are all run by volunteers. So if you like what we're doing, think about volunteering. Volunteering is a great way to make this organization even stronger. So with that in mind, we need people on the Birdathon committee for next year. So really nothing's going to happen until November, but think about it. You've got some time to think about how can you contribute and be part of the Birdathon committee, or any of the other, or one of these that we have. Okay, so on to how did the Birdathon do this year? So as Matthew said, this was a good year. This was what we call a very good year. It wasn't the highest, We had some really kind of amazing years back in the dot-com boom. But I think it's in the top 5 or 6 uh, of incoming donations for the year. We are currently at 55,244, unless Carolyn has a newer number, because stuff trickles in. That was yesterday evening's number. And I wanted to take a minute to recognize some of our top donors. So let me pull up a slide here. I had slides that I didn't show you, but here's our slate of board officer candidates. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are the top donors from this year for the Birdathon. So these are the people that gave money. These aren't the people that went out birding, and they aren't the people that were trying to gather money. These are the individual donors. So Larry and Sue Langdon.
Barry, are you sharing your screen?
Yes.
We're not.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm playing the slideshow, but I'm not sharing the screen. Thank you.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to read off these names pretty quickly, just to save time. Also, half of these windows are covering things. So Larry and Sue Langdon, who happen to be my parents-in-law, Steve Pat and Deborah Jameson, Ginger and myself, Bob Hurt, whom you know, Christine Carlson, Don Price, Blanche and Irving Laurie, Renee Polizotto, Eve Meyer, Ho Min Lim, Mary Wisniewski and Bill Walker, thank you, Jerry Voigt, Patty Rouser, Bob Power, Luis Cogliani, excuse me, Craig Edgerton, Craig Hunter, Wendy and Dennis Farndon, Jeff Hunter, J. Daniel McCraney, Dean Ujihara. So as I said, this is just the top donors. There are hundreds more people who contributed to this Birdathon. This is our biggest, as far as time and effort, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And it shows in the list of people who have given. So thank you to everybody who donated to the Birdathon, both on that screen and elsewhere. Appreciate it. All right. So I think that was everything that I had, Matthew.
Okay,
want to do the next quiz question?
I do. I just want to add, though, that we may well increase that 55,000 as corporate matches tend to come in. So that's always a good thing. If you work for a corporation that has a matching program, that's always a wonderful thing to take advantage of, when especially comes to raising money for the Birdathon and such. But yeah, let me take it back to the quiz here for a second. And so we left it off here, I believe. Mystery 2. I'm hoping you're seeing mystery number 2 now. Looks to be a streaky sparrow of some kind, of which there are many. If you think you know the answer, you could put it into chat, but it's not necessary. Just make a note yourself. And I wanted to point out—
getting guesses.
Oh, good. I'm going to point out a few features here which might help you if you don't have an idea yet. There's a faint reddish eye line behind the eye and a pretty prominent eye ring. The bill for a sparrow looks to be fairly heavy, and there are no wing bars on this bird. There are faint stripes, but remember the time of year, so that the faint stripes may not be present on adult birds. And we see what looks to be sort of a rufous brown tail. So are we seeing any answers, Barry, that are correct?
You do have at least 3 people, I believe, guessed correctly, if it's what I believe it is.
Okay.
Only you know the answers.
Right,
but
so
many people have guessed rufous crowned sparrow.
And that is exactly what it is. So excellent if that was your guess. This is a juvenile, and it's something a lot of us are not familiar with. We don't see them very often. The window of this plumage is quite short, so it's forgivable if you don't recognize this bird, because it's not that easy and not that familiar. So I'm going to go back. I think I've stopped sharing the screen for now. So Carolyn, you want to take it away?
All right.
So I've got the distinct honor of congratulating all of our fundraisers this year. Y'all did an amazing job. I'm going to start out with acknowledging the top 3 fundraising teams. So these are the team totals. Some of you fundraised for multiple teams. So these are just the teams themselves and their fundraising efforts. So our first place team this year was, I know many of you who are familiar with Birdathon, who have done it before, have your expectations, and I'm sorry to break them, but this year's first place team was actually the Piratical Flycatchers. So congratulations to that 2-person team, Barry and Ginger. You are the winners of Birdathon for the team fundraising. The Flycatchers brought in just over $10,000. So it was an amazing fundraising effort. But our second place team, the Rock Wrens, also did a very respectable $8,000. That's an amazing amount of work. Fundraising is a lot of work, contacting people, finding all of those people either in your friend groups, your family groups, your coworkers, and basically going up and asking for money. So I salute every single one of you who decided to do that. It's very cool. And you guys did an amazing job. And then our third place fundraising team was the Lean Green Birding Machine. If you are a fan of cycling as well as birding, I really do recommend that team. It looks like they have a ton of fun. And they did a great job fundraising and birding this year. So Barry, I believe you've got our prize slideshow.
Yes, I do. And
if you wouldn't mind running that for me.
I'd be happy to.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Bring it up. Is this the right prize to have up now? Because I can always flip around.
Yeah, we can start there. So for the individual fundraising, these are totals that are made up of a single person's fundraising efforts across all of the teams that they took part in. So this is the complicated bit of our fundraising accounting, essentially.
Algorithm,
Yeah. So we're going to start down at the bottom of our prize list with Mike Moser. Mike took part in the Rock Wrens, and he won a Beauregard Chardonnay. I also want to thank Lisa Myers. She actually passed on her prize. Every so often we get those people who are generous enough to do, which means even more people get a chance to win prizes. In 26th place, we had Matthew Daughter. Matthew, as a member of the SCVAS staff, is ineligible for all prizes. So good job, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks.
But just missed it.
It's not a member
then we have in 25th place, we have Bill Holland. Bill won the World of Owls, which is presented by Cornell. If you guys are familiar with eBird, they've also got a really excellent online learning class. So things might be a little bit biased towards the East, but there's still a lot of really cool programs that they have. Emily Kim was our 24th place fundraiser. She fundraised over $600, and she actually passed on a prize. But I want to thank her for all of her work. Just above her was Jennifer Reisinga, another one of the Rock Wrens, who's really passed on getting a prize. Bob Bowles raised almost $700, and he won Cornell's Raptor course. So he's going to be the person to go to for all of your Raptor questions if you're familiar with Bob. Tom Davis was one of the Lean Green Birding Machine participants, so one of our intrepid cyclists, and he actually passed on a prize, which is very generous of him. Just above him was Marianne Allen. She was one of Matthew's Birdcassos. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see some of the artwork that team put out this year, there's some really impressive watercolors and sketches that you can see. And she won a SCVAS shopping spree. I also want to thank Jean Fortis. She fundraised over $750, and she's the recipient of the 10th Street Bourbon. So party at Jean's house.
That was the new prize this year, so that was pretty cool.
That was a brand new prize. All right, Mike Rogers. I'm sure you're all very familiar with him, either through the South Bay Birds or his eBird reporting. But he won 2 bottles of Pinot Noir for his fundraising efforts of nearly $800. And then I also want to congratulate Carter. Carter was one of our fledglings. So he was one of our top fundraisers, and he won one of our scopes. Another one of our scope winners was Elsie Boros. Elsie took part in a number of teams this year, including leading one at her own ranch, an auto body shop, Purgatory. So very active Birdathon participant. Thanks so much for taking part and sharing your pictures and getting involved. In our 15th place fundraiser was Massimo. Massimo was another one of our fledglings, which is our team made up of our youngest Birdathon participants. They did a really excellent job this year in reviving this team, as well as finding birds and fundraising. Next in our fundraising was Eve Meyer. Eve is probably a familiar name for most of you. She runs our field trip committee, and she's our field trip coordinator. So all of those amazing field trips that we get to play host to every month, Eve is the person in charge of all of that. She is the one who organizes it and puts in for permits. It's an amazing job. And then she went all out for Birdathon this year. So thank you very much, Eve.
And what did she win?
Sorry?
Is this Eve's? Is this do I have the right prize for Eve?
Yes, you do. Yeah, sorry. Okay. I am looking at multiple screens right now. And then the last person that I'm going to be listing out, because I realize that lists are not the most exciting thing, even if you're on them. I want to thank Pete Dunton. He fundraised around $1,400. He won a gift basket from the Los Gatos Birdwatcher. Pete is another one of our very familiar names, and he's actually coordinating the summer bird count this weekend. So if you don't have Saturday plans, contact Pete and he may have activities for you. All right, so with that, I want to invite any and all of our winners. If I called your name, you guys can wave. If you would like to say a couple of brief words, you're welcome to unmute yourself to do so. But I just want to thank every single one of you for reaching out to your family members and your friends, and asking them for support. We really appreciate all of your work, and we really enjoyed getting to see your trip reports and your pictures, and just knowing that you guys, well, hopefully had a good time with Birdathon this year.
Yeah,
I want to hear from Carter about the passing on the scope.
Oh no, he didn't pass on the scope.
No,
we got
he passed it on.
Oh yeah, I still got the scope, but we are, as a team, are giving it to Carlos, who's not here tonight, who is a great member of our team, and he's going to get a lot of great use out of it.
That's fantastic. Well, that's really a nice gesture on your part. So, and what a fabulous team. We're going to hear from the fledglings a little bit later tonight. But these are great teams, and so excited about everybody's stories that have been on the website. That's it for the first part of the list?
Yeah, so that clears the first half of that list. I promise the second half will be shorter. And so that takes us to our third quiz question.
Yeah, okay, so let's do that. And let me see here. I think we left it here at Rufus Crown. So mystery number 3 is partially blocked, which I think is especially fun. If you think you know it already, then that's fantastic, because this is sort of a subtle bird, and maybe one that we don't always get this close to. But I'm going to show off a couple of features that you might want to consider while you're thinking about it. There's this faint buffy wash on the upper breast, which seems interesting and important. It's got wing bars pretty clearly, and those are fairly bright. And on the tail, I'm seeing a peculiar sort of grayish, maybe even a bluish color. So I'm wondering if anybody's taken a stab at it in the chat yet. Is anybody?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. We've got everybody's come to a consensus on everything except the alpha code.
Okay, yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh yeah, the alpha code is weird.
What are people saying?
Oops.
Lazuli buntings across the board.
That's fantastic. Yeah, the lazuli bunting, a young bird with really no blue, perhaps a little bit of blue on the tail. The young and the females look pretty similar. Yeah, but so that's spectacular, because this is not the way we normally think about lazuli buntings. We think about the brilliant kind of neon blue, but of course that's not what we have here. So excellent to those who got that. Okay, I'm gonna leave this behind, and I wanted to acknowledge the Almaden Eagles for a moment. I know Jana is here. This is a team that's been around for a while, and Jana, if you want to unmute yourself for a moment and tell us, first of all, who was in the team this year, and second, how long the team's been around.
Hi.
Hi, Jana.
Well, yeah, and Birdie started this about 20 years ago. That's good.
Wow.
She's not sure, but she thinks about 20 years ago. And it's really fun. I like it now that it's a distributed team. Because we can go to more places, and we go to places that we know. So we have 2 new team members this year, Marion Farber and Bobby Baker, and they took areas that they're familiar with. And then Kirsten Holmquist and I took larger areas, and then Ann just did the water district. So she started this with John Mariani, and I believe we had the highest total this year for the 20-year record.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that might have something to do with the fact it's distributed for the past couple
Yeah,
of
that
years.
really helps. There is a little overlap, but really not that much.
I'm a big fan of that distributed format for probably the same reason you are. You can cover more areas and you can maximize the count, and there's some strategy involved with a distributed team. But so do you have a favorite bird this year that any team member came across, or over the 20 years there's been an especially good bird?
Well, my favorite over 20 years was a costless hummingbird.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't even get the bird, the top bird.
Wow.
Because Barry, I believe, found a McCown's longspur.
Oh, the
right?
No, it was a Lapland logspur.
Oh, okay.
And that was my very first Birdathon.
Yeah.
And
With
that was
Mike
the bird
Rogers.
that totally got me hooked on Birdathon.
You were with Rogers and the Twitchers.
I went out with the very Twitchers, so I happened, and I didn't realize at the time, I happened to pick the best, most, highest number of species team of all of the choices. And
well, that really says
it was incredible.
It says something that a Costas hummingbird got ousted from first position. So it would really have to be something special
in the county, yeah.
To beat the Costas.
Yeah, that happened a couple times to me. Also, I missed out on solitary sandpiper 2 years. One year we meet at 5 in the morning, and we had been going all day, and our last stop was the water district, and there was water in the pond at that time. Yep. And everybody was dragging, and I saw this bird, and I thought it was a solitary sandpiper, and they didn't even care. They just wanted to go home. And so we were back in the car, and I jumped out of the car and I ran back to London, and I took some pictures. So I got my solitary sandpiper.
Smart.
Well, do you foresee making any changes in the following years?
Well, we really want to keep with the distributed team. We just cover Almond Valley, and then Kirsten went into Coyote Valley a little bit. So we really like it like this.
Well, that's great. I tend to agree. I think I'm going to continue to do some distributed teams, but I also miss the in-person teams too. So I'll do a bit of both. But well, thanks for all those years of finding birds and reporting so frequently and so thoroughly on South Bay birds. I mean, you are one of the anchors of the birding community, and you have been for a long time. I always look forward to reading your reports and chasing the birds that you find. So thank you to you and everybody else that's on your team for another great year. So,
well, thank you. I had a great day today at Grant Ranch. I found 7 nests,
wow,
which is my passion.
Yeah,
but I know we're not supposed to report them, so
well,
I'm not write a report.
But yeah, we should all find our own nests probably. But well, good for you. So anyway, thank you so much again. And
sure.
Now, Carolyn, I think we've got another small group of winners coming up, don't we?
We do. Before I finish up the fundraising list, I did want to share with you, we do always throughout Birdathon have different categories for winning, and it doesn't really win a prize, but you do get your name on a plaque in the office, and now Barry has created essentially an online plaque page, so we can list way more names at once, which is great. And it does make it a lot easier to add new categories if something super cool comes up. So I'm going to start with everyone's favorite and always the most contentious of our categories, which is the best bird of Birdathon. So there was a lot of debate on this one. We had some really cool birds. We had some really cool birds. The St. Anthony Ranchers had a tropical kingbird. Rock Wrens had a northern pygmy owl, which is just, adorable. But we decided to go, after a lot of debate, with the Rock Wrens reporting of the American Dipper. And the reason we went for this bird, even though multiple teams did report it, the Rock Wrens did find it. It was found by Steve Pat on his bike. I know many of you have actually stopped by Stevens Creek Road to see this bird. And the reason this is such a cool sighting is because it's a return of that bird to this location after several years' absence. There hadn't been any prior indication that the Dippers had been back to this area, let alone that they were breeding. So it's really just kudos to Steve for taking the time while he was on his bike out in this area to just double check this habitat for this bird that I think a lot of us love to go and see. It's certainly not a widespread or super common species, but who doesn't love a songbird that swims? So best bird of the spring 22 Birdathon was the American Dipper.
We should also say that a very Twitchers reported the black rail, which is a spectacular bird, and that was one of the ones we were considering. But I think it was a big debate on which bird. But anyway, so that's where we fell.
Yep, that was the longest discussion we had in that meeting. Was back and forth between that black rail and the American Dipper, but the Dipper won out. So for our most birds categories, that's kind of the more informal competition of Birdathon. Everybody wanted the team with the most in their categories. For our Birdathon teams, now that we're kind of cemented into doing the distributed team, like Jenna and Matthew, I think there's real benefits to keeping the distributed team. It's a really interesting way to cover a county without creating a massive carbon footprint. There's a lot more strategizing that goes on. Y'all should have seen Matthew the day before his distributed teams went out. He was just poring over eBird hotspot maps in his office. But for the 24-hour distributed team category, the rock wrens came in with 157 species, which is really impressive. For the 24-hour non-distributed teams, any guesses? Because if you're guessing the Twitchers, you're right.
Oh yeah.
Very Twitchers, very Twitchers.
Nice.
Yes, so the very Twitchers took it again. We had to create these new categories so other people than the Twitchers could win these.
I love new categories for just that reason.
New categories for everyone. But the very Twitchers got 154 species, which is
Excellent.
absolutely incredible. There are some amazing birders with even better stamina. That is an all-day event, and they go hard on the birding. For the 4-hour teams, the distributed teams, the St. Anthony Ranchers won that category with 96 species. So
Nice.
Congratulations to Jim Liskovic and the St. Anthony Ranchers. You guys did a great job this year.
Oh.
And for the 4-hour non-distributed team, we had the subspecies coming in with 84 species. So that's a very good job in such a short time.
Yeah.
And in that period of time, it's really easy to get just bogged down onto one location. So that's super impressive to hit multiple locations and get that species count. For our photography teams, the Curious Clickadees won. They not only presented some really fantastic photographs, but they actually ended up photographing 90 out of the 103 species that they saw in their day out. So
Nice.
it was some really amazing photography work, some really great birding. So to Vinayak and Shweta, who made up the Curious Clickadees, thanks so much for taking part in Birdathon this year. I know it was your guys' first Birdathon. I'm always a really big fan of teams that come up with puns. And when the teams with puns also come out with some really fantastic photographs, that's even better. Do we actually have the photographs for our most artistic?
I can pull it up.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that. I want to share with you guys the most artistic shot, and this was by Vinayak from the Curious Clickadees. And it's a common bird for us, but we were just really struck by the composition of it. The snowy egret is one of those birds that, because we see it so frequently, it can kind of blend in. But the more we looked at this shot, the more we found to like in it, whether it's, you can actually see the wear pattern in those primaries. The feet are just really fantastic. So the most artistic shot goes to Vinayak Hebajil with the snowy egret shot. And then for the last of our photography shots, our rarest shot went to the Sparrow Trifecta by Elsie Boros. Outside of the white-throated sparrow, the crowned sparrows are kind of common even as we get a little, out of the winter. But it was just so cool to not just see these three sparrows in one shot together, but if you look closely at those sparrows, you can see all of the diagnostic field marks for these little guys. So there's no question on the identity of these birds. And it was just neat to see them hanging out together. So
Bigger?
well done, LC.
Yeah, that's a really great shot because the white-throated and the white crown side by side, you can see the different shape of the head. The white-throated has got a longer, heavier head with a thicker neck. So it's just a different shaped bird, even though the markings are kind of similar.
Yeah, and you can really see with that side by side the difference in the crown composition for that golden crown, which is in breeding plumage, which is kind of a rarity for us. Usually when we're seeing the golden crowns, they're in their scrappy little alternate plumage. So really, really wonderfully done. I'm going to wrap this up with the last of our prize winners and our top fundraisers. So in 10th place for our fundraising efforts, I want to thank Mary Wisniewski and Bill Walker. You guys raised a really impressive amount for us. Unfortunately, by virtue of you being board members, you are ineligible for prizes, but we salute your efforts regardless. Thank you so much for taking part in Birdathon and for fundraising. Our 9th place fundraiser was Eric Goodall. He raised over $1,600 for Birdathon, and he won a trip to UC Davis's Raptor Center. So that's a trip out into the Central Valley with Mike Armour and Matthew Daughter. They're going to be checking out the Raptor Center, which is a very cool chance to see up close and personal some really amazing birds, and then birding out at the YOLO Bypass Preserve. I don't know if you guys are planning on staying late enough, but there's also a really impressive bat colony at the preserve as well.
Probably not, but we will be arriving early enough to have lunch together, so that's good.
That's a good thing too. That's a long drive. Our place fundraiser was Anaya Canzode. She won a gift basket from the Los Gatos Birdwatcher. Thank you so much for taking part, Anaya. It's really great to not only see you taking part in Birdathon, but all of the volunteer work you do for SCVAS. Anaya is the person who monitors the nest boxes at McClellan Ranch. So if you've been by the ranch and wondered who actually takes care of those boxes, that's her responsibility, and she's doing an excellent job. And if any of you guys are familiar with the California Bluebird Recovery Program, she is writing an article for them for their upcoming newsletter. So very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our 7th place spot is held by Craig Hunter. He is a member of the Rock Wrens. He raised more than $2,000 for Birdathon, and he's the winner of the Zeiss binoculars. So brand new, donated by Zeiss. In 6th place, we have Carolyn Straub. Carolyn, she fundraised more than $2,500. So a fantastic job. She has won a birding trip with Bob and Mike Mimoser. So they're going to be trolling around Santa Clara County or wherever they decide to end up going, searching for either life birds, hard to find birds, rarities. That should be a really fun day.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our 5th place fundraiser was Renee Palazzotto. Renee has fundraised over $2,800 for this year's Birdathon. And she actually won a $200 gift card from the Cornell Lab. So she can pick and choose whichever of the classes she likes.
Excellent.
In 4th place, we have Bob Hurt. Bob raised nearly $3,000 for Birdathon. That's not including the money he donated to the participants in his teams and other teams with birders that he just really liked. Bob, by virtue of being a board member, is unfortunately ineligible. But I do want to take a moment to thank Bob for all of his work, not just on the board, but in the Birdathon committee. Bob is the person who tracks everyone down in order to distribute the prizes, which is a pretty thankless job. It's a lot of work. So thank you so much, Bob, for everything that you do with SCVAS and with Birdathon in particular, because this would be a whole other beast without you. In third place, we had the St. Anthony Ranchers led by Jim Liskovic. They actually decided to pool all of the fundraising efforts, and then they draw a team member out of the hat. So there, Donna Meyer is the recipient of the prize of a tour of the California Academy of Sciences, particularly the Rainforest Preserve. So you can bird in a rainforest without having to get your shots, which is a plus. So congratulations for all of those efforts. Our first place prize winner, second place fundraiser, was Steve, Pat, and Deborah Jameson. They fundraised almost $4,500 for Birdathon. And they are the winners of 2 tickets to a pelagic trip with Alvaro's Adventures. If you aren't familiar with Alvaro, we just did a speaker series with him all about pelagic birding off the coast of California. So it should be a pretty amazing trip, either to the Farallones or just out into the ocean. Congratulations to Steve, and thank you not just for your fundraising efforts, but for the work that you put in on the Birdathon committee. It's a lot of hours. We have a lot of meetings. So thank you for taking part in that. And then our top fundraiser this year was Barry and Ginger Langdon-Lasagne. They're very, very impressive $10,000 that they fundraised. They are ineligible by virtue of Barry being the board president. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your work. We really couldn't have done this Birdathon without you.
Well, thank you so much. The Birdathon is the whole reason I got involved with SCVAS to begin with. So it's something I care about a lot, and I think it's a lot of fun for everybody who participates. It brings in a lot of money for the chapter, and it's just a really great thing all around. And it's really been cool to see how we've innovated these last couple of years. I love the distributed Birdathon as well. I definitely think that's something that should carry on from here on. But I would really love to be in person at this awards event.
Yeah.
I was hoping for in person this year. Maybe next year. We'll see.
Do it again. You'll have to come back up from from Central California.
Central Coast. It's not Southern.
Yeah. So I see Renee and Julio. Hey there. You probably just heard that you won a prize, so that's fantastic. It's a huge and a wonderful list. So thank you, Carolyn, for running through it. I have another quick quiz question, and then we're going to talk to the fledglings for a moment. So let me share the screen here, pull it back up. It's here, so we left it here. Mystery 4. Now be careful with this one. This is a blurry shot, but you can see the features that are important. And if you want to enter your answer in chat, you can. And I'm going to reveal a couple of marks that you might want to notice before identifying it. It has dark primaries. It's got a dark carpal bar, this dark mark on the forewing. It looks like it descends to the leading edge of the wrist as well. The bill and the legs are curious. They seem to be sort of a mustard color almost. So, are we seeing any answers come in, guys?
Oh, they agree it's a turn.
What was that, Helen?
They agree that it's a turn.
Okay.
And Carter was guessing least turn.
It looks like we got a couple of people with the
And,
least.
and Bob, and yeah, a couple others.
Yep. And that is, in fact, what it is, least term first year.
Excellent.
So this is not a common bird here, but come July, we might start to see some on the pond. So they're breeding in the East Bay, of course, up in Alameda, I think. But they do come down South County to our South Bay in the ponds in later summer. So watch for those. I haven't seen them yet, but at some point we will. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment and pull out of that. And I wanted to take a moment to remind everybody that we do have some of our Birdathon shirts still available available in every size. So, but they're not going to last forever. So if you want one of the Sparrow shirts, pick them up before they're gone, because once they, go great. Once they're gone, they're gone. So get them while they're hot, and otherwise you'll have to wait until next year, and who knows what that'll be. So anyway, the
Got my
fledgling
shirt right here.
Yeah, fantastic.
Excellent.
Thanks, Massimo. The fledglings have been around for a little while, and I wanted to have Massimo and Carter talk for a moment. How did either one of you really? How did the team start? I think I know, but I'm not certain. And I take it that you are both new to the team this year or last year. Is that correct? So, Massimo, why don't you start?
Well, so originally, like the main group, we were all members of like the group that's been helping moderate and run the South Bay Birds Discord. So we had already been sort of like chatting on like a group DM on Discord. And then I suggested the idea of maybe doing a Birdathon team, because I thought maybe that could be a fun thing. And that's sort of where, at least for me, I think it started.
Yeah, and like Massimo messaged the chat. He said, "Hey, we should make a Birdathon team." And we're like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. We love the Birdathon." And then Massimo came up with the idea, "Hey, we should call it the Fledglings." And then I don't think you knew this at the time, but the Fledglings was already a team. But I don't.
Funny.
I think Vivek, can you say anything about the history of the Fledglings? Because did you used to run it? If he's still here,
I think it might. Go ahead.
Yeah. So long time ago, about 7-8 years ago, I think it was maybe even 9 years ago, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we started taking the kids out birding, and we had some rules. The kids had to identify, and 2 kids must identify, right? And they were little, and they would come up with, "Oh, that's a bird. Oh, that's great." But where do we go from there, right? So we grew from there, and up until the COVID hit, we did Birdathons every year, sometimes even out of county, and we had exceptions for that. So it has been a great journey. The older fledgling has already fledged, so she's in college now, and the younger fledgling is fledging next year. And this year we would have joined you guys, but our dates didn't match. I have been traveling a lot. I've been really busy, so we would have loved to. But next year maybe I will join you guys just to hang out with you guys.
Oh, that would be great. It sounds like a great
that'd be
team to hang out
amazing.
with. If I recall, Patty Rouser was involved with the early fledglings too.
Yes.
Don't want to forget her.
Yes.
So I don't know if she's here tonight or not, but the team's been around for a little while. But it's so funny that you came up with a name, not even knowing that it had existed before. But it was basically the same idea, with a group of young birders identifying things on their own. Now, is there an age limit for this team?
Well, we had, there's no age limit on it was basically you had to be under 21 to join.
Mm-hmm. So that means Carter and you will eventually age out, which,
So
Yeah.
off, but still.
Is it physical age, or do I count? Because my mental age is probably less than 21.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a 4-hour team too.
Oh, for the older
Yeah,
folks.
that's a great idea.
That'd be fun.
Instead of the fledglings, we're the fledged. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's such a great team, such a great idea, and the birds you came back with are the envy of us all. I mean, you had a huge list. You had great team members, and you wrote an incredible report. And I'm just wondering, like I asked Jana, is there anything that you would foresee changing next year? And are you looking for new young birders to join you in the future?
Definitely. I think, well, actually, Carter and I were just both talking about it just now on our group chat on Discord, how you're saying that we definitely think that we should try to expand the team and invite more people to join us next year.
Yeah, and I know there's some very, very talented young birders especially in the North and East Bay, who we haven't connected with so much yet.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if we can get them to come down here and join us for the Birdathon, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
You're talking about the young birders.
And maybe
the young birders club.
Yeah, young birders.
Yeah, that's a great group. You should definitely meet them if you
Mhm.
haven't already. So do you anticipate doing a distributed team or offering that? This was a together team, wasn't it?
Well,
we were distributed.
Okay.
It was kind of both. It was because basically, like, at the start of the day, we were all at we were all at separate locations, but then towards the middle and end of the day, we all met up at the Baylands and birded that area together. And then Carter and I ended up going down to Eulestack to look for the solitary sandpiper.
Oh yeah, great. And I think you found it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's a great team, and the two of you have done so much for pulling together the young birders in the South Bay, and I wish you all the luck in the years ahead. From a lot of people here tonight have been birding since they were as young as you, and it's a lifetime interest, and you have a fantastic resume already. So congratulations to both of you and the rest of the team, Carlos, and there was who else was in the team? Who all was in
Cedric?
Oh, Cedric, yes.
Cedric Von Briel from San Mateo, Carlos Mendoza, he did the South County, and then me and Massimo.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everyone was, all the team members did so well, but also I just incredible luck with, we kind of made our route focus on rarities instead. And it's kind of funny, like we got Cassin's kingbird, but we missed Western kingbird. We got canyon wren, but we missed rock wren. Like we got a lot of rare birds instead of their common counterparts, which was very entertaining.
It's very easy to go the whole day and not get house sparrow, just because it's so common, and so there are lots of common birds that get missed on a big day like that. But you did awesome, and I was envious when I read.
I remember with the when I was over at Jeffrey Fontana Park looking for the white-throated sparrow. I think I spent a good 20 minutes taking photos of white-crowned sparrows, thinking that they were the white-throated sparrow. And then we were literally leaving, and then I saw this bird fly over to a house, like over on the side of the road, and I just decided to take a photo of it, thinking it was a white-crowned sparrow, and it ended up being the bird.
Great. Well, I'm hoping to get. I've seen your artwork, Massimo, so I'm hoping to get you on the Bird Cassos next year. Maybe you could fit the schedule. And while I'm at it, I want to say, if anybody likes to draw or paint or sketch or whatever, I'm always looking for artists to be on Bird Cassos. So that would apply to all of you. But Massimo, I've seen your work, and I'd really like to get you on the team next year. But thank you guys, both of you, and Cedric and Carlos, for doing a fabulous job and rallying the young birders in the county to take an interest and participate in the Birdathon. It's fantastic work. So thank you.
Thanks.
All of you. So I have one more quiz question, and then we're going to do a quick toast and have Bill send us out. But we're getting quite late on time, so I'm going to do this pretty quickly. But it wouldn't be a Matthew quiz if we didn't include a gull. So here we go. I'm going to give you a second with this, and keep in mind, again, the time of year. And also keep in mind what's likely to be seen in this area. And then I'm going to point out one field mark here, which is really very helpful. And it might not be the feature you're thinking about, but I'm wondering, Barry and Carolyn, are there any answers yet?
There's a couple.
Okay.
We've got several people have said California gull at this point.
Okay.
And Short-billed gull was also a guess.
Good. Well, I want to point out this one feature, these dark greater coverts. This is a pretty good mark for one particular gull in our area. Of course, the default gull here right now would be California. We have huge, we have a huge breeding colony in the Bixby area, and of course many in the ponds. But this is a California gull first year, and that mark I showed you on the wing, the greater coverts, that dark bar, is pretty useful. It's really very obvious when the wing is open too. So if you're afraid of gulls, don't be afraid of gulls. Just realize that most likely what you're looking at now is probably California. But of course, it's possible it's another kind of gull, but this one is really the most likely at the moment. There'll come a time in late fall and in winter when other gulls are common and should be considered. And there's time for that. And I'm sure we'll do a class on it. But anyway, the theme for tonight was young birds, of course. And the important thing to remember is that familiar birds can be really confusing when they're young. And I think we've seen 5 examples of that tonight. So anyway, I'm going to stop share here. And I just wanted to thank you all for being here tonight and for working so hard to make this another successful year for the SCVAS Spring Birdathon. You all did enormous work. You wrote great reports, took fantastic photographs, made beautiful artwork, and all so grateful to all of you for being a part of it again. And we'll meet again in person. I hope we'll do that soon. But for now, I wanted to toast to all of you tonight, Barry and Ginger and Carolyn. If you're drinking anything, water, iced tea, absinthe, it doesn't matter. Just raise your glass and take a sip to the 2022 Spring Birdathon and all of you for your fantastic help.
Cheers. Thanks to everybody who led a trip. Thanks to everybody who was on a trip. Thanks to all the donors. And thanks to everybody for fundraising for this wonderful event.
And thank you, Carolyn and Barry and Bill, for your incredible work tonight. And Bill, do you want to send us out with some music?
I do, and I want to just take a personal opportunity to thank Barry for his leadership on the board. It's been really fantastic, and does so much stuff behind the scenes to make things go. So thank you, Barry. We really appreciate it. I want to send us out on a Duke Ellington tune called Caravan, and to me, this is a song about going to new places. So I was wondering if any of you on your Birdathon trips went to some place you'd never been before. Maybe you can share that with us. Anyway, this tune's called Caravan. That's Duke Ellington's Caravan. All right, let's just chill out with one more tune, because those of you, by the way, I do this every Friday on a thing I call Friday Jazz Happy Hour. You can find that at fridayjazzhappyhour.com, and there has to be a waltz every time. So let's go out on a waltz, shall we? This one. Let's see if you are Disney or Disney fans. You might know this tune. All right. Well, that is going to do it then. Thanks everybody for listening, and thank you so much for all of your birding and all your fundraising. I have to say, trying to play that tune and watching all of your go by on the screen was a bit distracting, but in a very good way. So hats off to all of you. That was fantastic.
Thanks, Bill. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful evening. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon in person, I hope. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. Good night.
Good night.